Welcome again to the lecture number 9, chapter 12, thermodynamic property relations. Up till now, in this chapter, in lecture 7 and lecture 8, basically we have discussed various aspect of mathematics for the application in the thermodynamics, such as the simple derivative, partial derivative, and a total differential. And on basis of that, we derive relations such as cyclic and reciprocity relations, and we have validated both of these relations, cyclic and reciprocity relation. And then by using the four Gibbs equation, we have derived Maxwell relations. And then by using the Maxwell relations, we have developed very important relations such as Clapeyron equation, which is used to calculate enthalpy of phase change and to extrapolate the PVT data. So up till now, we have discussed these four major topics. And now in this class, we'll try to develop general relations for change in internal energy, change in enthalpy, and change in entropy. Basically, we know that by general mean, for example, such as internal energy, for example, internal energy of the ideal gas is a function of temperature only. But in addition to the ideal gas, we also have the real gas behavior. So we must have certain relationship which is equally applicable for the ideal gas as well as for the real gas behavior. However, these relationships are expressed in terms of pressure, temperature, and specific volume. So basically, the objective of this section of this class is to develop the relationship for change in internal energy, enthalpy, and change in entropy in terms of pressure, specific volume, and temperature. So let's start with the first one, change in internal energy. Now, we can specify any of the property in terms of two independent intensive properties. So let's say internal energy as a function of temperature and specific volume. So if we take the total derivative of internal energy in terms of temperature and specific volume, then the total differential of that du will be equal to partial u by partial d into dt plus partial u by partial v into dv. So this is the total derivative of the internal energy. Now the first term, this one, the first term, basically that's the derivative of internal energy with temperature at constant volume. This is equal to Cv. The first term basically is equal to Cv times dt, and this term is as it is. So if we know the second term, we can drive a relation for the change in internal energy. So we need the second term, this one. To get that term, let's say this is equation 1, and we also know the change in internal energy from the Gibbs first equation. This is the Gibbs first equation. We also know that du is equal to TdS minus PdV. Now we need this change in entropy, delta S. So let's say that again entropy is a function of temperature and specific volume. So the total derivative of the internal energy will be equal to partial S by partial T into dt plus partial S by partial V into dV. So if we put this ds here, and we put the value of the ds, then we'll have the internal energy equal to, if we put this value, then we'll have T times the value of this delta S. And if we rearrange, we'll get the change in internal energy in this form. Now, let's say this is equation 2. Now, if we carefully observe that delta U in equation 1 is also in terms of delta T and delta V. Similarly, in equation 2, change in internal energy is also in terms of delta T and delta V. So that means we can compare the coefficient of equation 1 and equation 2. So if we equate equation 1 and equation 2, then we'll have, then this delta T coefficient, this coefficient should be equal to Cv. So that means the first one, Cv, that T will go on the other side. So this is the first one. Then the second coefficient is this one, that is required to us. So this coefficient should be equal to this coefficient. So, right. So if we just rearrange this term from the Gibbs Maxwell's third relation, this one we can replace with this one. So then this term will be equal to T times partial P by partial T at constant volume minus P. So basically we need, in equation 1, we need this second term. So now we have derived that second term, partial U by partial V. So partial U by partial V at constant temperature. So this term can be replaced with this one. So if we put this value in equation 1, then we'll have the relationship for change in internal energy equal to CV dt plus T times partial P by partial T constant volume minus P into dV. So now you can carefully observe that this is a general relationship for the change in entropy. Let's say there is the change between any two states. Let's say state 1 to state 2, then we have to integrate. So if we integrate that from between the two states, let's say u2 minus u1, then we'll have to take the integration for this one and for the second term. Now you can see this is a general relationship because internal energy is now a function of temperature, pressure and specific volume. So now this relationship is equally applicable for the real gas as well as for the ideal gas behavior. By following the same procedure, we can also develop a relationship for change in enthalpy, a general relationship for change in enthalpy. Now, let's say enthalpy is a function of temperature and pressure, then the total differential of the enthalpy will be equal to partial H by partial T plus D into dt plus partial H by partial P into dP. So that's the total differential of the enthalpy when it is a function of temperature and pressure. Now again, this term, the first term, which is the derivative of the enthalpy with respect to temperature and constant pressure, this is equal to Cp. So this is equal to Cp times delta T plus partial H by partial P at constant temperature into dP. Now again we need the second term now. This is again we need to calculate the second term. Again, let's say this is equation 1. Again we'll utilize this second Gibbs equation, which is equal to delta H is also equal to TdS plus VdP. We have derived this equation during the derivation of the Maxwell equation. So again we need that change in entropy. So again, if we assume that change in entropy again is a function of temperature and pressure, then the total differential of the delta S is equal to partial S by partial T into dt plus partial S by partial P into dP. Now we can put this ds here again, then here, then we'll have the delta H equal to the T times the value of the delta S, this one. Then if we put and rearrange, then we'll get delta H equal to this one. Let's say this is equation 2. Now again, if we carefully observe equation 1 and equation 2, then we can say that the first equation 1 is a function of delta T and delta P. Again, this equation is a function of delta T and delta P. So again, we can compare the coefficient because we have the delta T, delta P. Again, in equation 2, we have delta T and delta P. If we compare the coefficient or equating equation 1 and 2, then the coefficient of delta T is Cp, whereas coefficient of here delta T is this one. So that means Cp by T is equal to partial S by partial T at constant pressure, whereas the second coefficient, this one, is the second coefficient that's equal to this term. So again, if we replace this from the Maxwell fourth relation, we can replace this term with this one, then we'll have partial S by partial P is equal to minus partial V by partial T at constant pressure. So that's the second term. So now if we put this second term here, then the change in enthalpy will be equal to Cp delta T plus this term. And for the change between any two states, let's say between state 1 and 2, we have to integrate all the term. Now this is a general relationship for change in enthalpy. As you can see, change in enthalpy is a function of temperature, volume, and pressure. So that's the general relationship, which is equally applicable for the ideal gas behavior as well as for the real gases. So now the third property is change in entropy. So again, as in by calculating in previous slides for the change in internal energy, change in enthalpy, we have considered change in enthalpy as a function of temperature and volume in case of delta U, whereas we have considered entropy as a function of pressure and temperature for calculating the change in enthalpy. So similarly, we can use the previous relations. These relations we have used for in case of delta U, right? So from this relation, we can calculate the value of the change in entropy. You can see delta S, we take the total derivative that was equal to this value. And we know this value was equal to Cv by delta T. Cv by d into delta t, and from the Maxwell relation we replace this relation with in terms of pressure and temperature. Now for any two state, if we take integration between the two states, then S2 minus S1, and similarly integration for the delta t and integration for the delta v. Now we can also derive the relationship for the change in entropy, like we also assumed that the internal energy is a function of temperature and pressure, because we need any two independent intensive property. So let's say this was used for delta H. This was used for delta H. We can also derive the relationship for change in entropy by using this relation. Again, the first term was equal to Cp by T, and this was replaced with the Maxwell fourth relation. So again, if we take integration between any two states, for the integration for the delta T and the integration for the delta P, we can derive general relationship for change in entropy. Now, basically you don't need to memorize these formulas for the change in entropy, or formula for the change in internal energy, or the formula for change in enthalpy. Basically you should know how to apply these formulas, right? Where to apply, at which situation to apply. For example, let's say if you want to apply for, let's say, the previous one, let's say delta H, let's say for the let's say for the ideal gas, then obviously ideal gas for in enthalpy is a function of temperature only, so the second term will be equal to zero. Similarly for the internal energy, so you should know how to apply these general relationship. Next is to figure out the general relationship for Cv and Cp. Now we know that at low pressure, the gases behave as ideal gases. So if they behave at ideal gases at low pressure, then that means the Cv and Cp, they depends on temperature only. They are function of temperature only at low pressure, or in other word, when they are treated as an ideal gas. But there are situations where the pressure of the gases are very high. So that means high pressure means they behave real gases. So how to calculate the value of Cp and Cv at high pressure, or in other word, during the real situation. So that's the objective of this slide. Now to how to develop relationship for Cv and Cp for the general cases, which are applicable for real gases as well as for the ideal gases. Now, we can utilize the previous two equation. One was used when S was a function of temperature and specific volume, whereas the second is when the S was a function of temperature and pressure, right? And in the previous slide, we derived these two equations, right? So both are equal to delta S. So what if we equate these two equations? Because this is also delta S, this is also equal to delta S. So we can equate these two equations. So if we equate these two equations, then we'll have this one. So this is also delta T, this is also delta T. So this delta T can be on one side, whereas this term can go on the other side. So then we will have, this is the common, delta T is common. So we'll have Cp minus Cv by T into delta T. So this will go on the other side, so it will be positive now. So this is the positive now. So from here, we can get the value of delta T. This will go on the other side, then we'll have the value of the delta T. So delta T will be equal to this term divided by Cp minus Cv plus this term divided by Cp minus Cv. Now further, if you carefully observe now, this is like a total differential of temperature in terms of specific volume and temperature. So that means, let's say if we choose temperature as a function of specific volume and pressure, and if we take the total differential of the temperature, then delta T will be equal to delta T by delta V into dV plus partial T by partial P into dP. So that means we can equate, because this is also delta T is in terms of delta V and delta P. Similarly here, delta T is a function of delta V and delta P. So we can equate the coefficient. We can equate either the first coefficient or we can equate the second coefficient. You will get the same answer, right? So equating the coefficient of either delta V or delta P with this equation. Then let's say we have equated the coefficient with the second one, let's say delta P coefficient. This coefficient is equal to this one, let's say, and then from here Cp minus Cv, just to rearrange, that will be equal to this one, whereas this one can be replaced with by using the, let's say, Now, cyclic relation. Cyclic relation mean when we have three variable, let's say pressure, pressure, temperature, and volume. Let's say if we have three variable, pressure, volume, and temperature. Then we can write down the cyclic relation like partial P by partial T, partial T by partial V, partial V by partial P. That's equal to -1. But we need this one, this variable, partial P by partial T. So we need first variable, right? The other two variable will go on the other side. So that will be minus partial V by partial T, partial P by partial T. So if we put these two value, I mean if we replace that value with this one, then we will get Cp minus Cv equal to minus, because this is a minus sign, minus partial V by partial T square times partial P by partial V at constant temperature. So basically this is the general relationship. This is the general relationship for Cp minus Cv, which is applicable for both ideal gas behavior as well as for real gas behavior. But to to explore that, we need these two terms. One of the term is that we should know the change of volume with respect to temperature at constant pressure, whereas we also need to know the change of pressure with respect to volume at constant temperature. So if we know these two terms, we can, we can relate Cp and Cv for all situations. Now, we can also simplify this. For example, we know this is beta is a coefficient of volume expansion, and we also have the isothermal compressibility. Beta is basically the change of volume with respect to temperature and constant pressure, whereas this is isothermal. That means change of volume with respect to pressure at constant temperature. So basically, the second term can be expressed in terms of alpha, whereas the first term, partial V by partial T, can be expressed in terms of beta. So if we put this value and simplify, then we'll get Cp minus Cv is equal to Vt beta square by alpha. This relation is called Mayer relation. Now this relation, Mayer relationship, is used to calculate to express the relationship of Cv and Cv in terms of volume, in terms of pressure, and in terms of temperature. This is applicable for wide range of the processes. Now, we can apply the previous relationship. For example, let's say show that Cp minus Cv is equal to R for the ideal gases. Right? We can prove that. Now, for the ideal gases mean this is the general relationship. Cp minus Cv, which is applicable for the ideal gas as well as for the real gas. Now, I can prove that if we apply this relationship, that should be equal to the R for the ideal gas. And we know the ideal gas equation is PV is equal to RT, right? So that means from this equation we need to calculate the first term and the second term. So let's say first we calculate the second term, partial P by partial V at constant temperature. That means we have to take the derivative of this pressure with respect to volume by keeping temperature constant. So that will be equal to minus RT by V square, whereas RT by V is again P. That will be equal to minus P by V, whereas the first term, derivative of volume with respect to temperature at constant pressure. Now again we have to rearrange a bit. V is equal to RT by P. So again if we take that derivative, partial V by partial T at constant pressure, that will be equal to R by P square. So if we put these two terms in that equation, let's say this is equation 1. So let's say if we put in equation 1, then, and if we simplify, then minus, that will be the first term is equal to RP square, and the second term from here is equal to minus P by V square. So if we simplify, for example, one of the P will be cancelled out with this one, right? Because that's a P square, so one will be cancelled out with this one. Then we'll have RT by P. RT by P is again R, right? RT by P is again V. So one of the V will be cancelled out, right? So we'll have RT by P. So again that's equal to R. If you simplify this, right? Further simplify mean minus T R square divided by P square, right? And then minus minus will be positive, so this will be positive. So again PV, P divided by V. So if we further simplify, that's equal to R, right? How one of the P will be cancelled out, right? One of the P will be cancelled out. So let's say we take R separate, so this is equal to 1, right? T R by PV is equal to 1, so we'll have only R here. So that's how we can prove this. So right, so Cp minus Cv is equal to R for an ideal gas. Right. So that's the end of this lecture. See you in the next class. If you have any question regarding lecture number 7, 8 or 9, you can send me email, you can ask me on MS Team. See you in the next class.